Welcome to Sex Work and Love, a podcast about navigating personal relationships as an adult industry professional. I'm your host, Delilah Saul. Before we get into today's episode, I want to let you know that my new film, Beloved, which is a short documentary about the love lives of sex workers, is available for streaming for a short time only. So you will be able to access it until March 15th, 2026 through the Liftoff Film Festival. Tickets are $12 and your purchase gives you access to all the films in the Judge's Choice category, including mine. You'll also be able to vote for your favorite film. So if you watched Beloved and you feel like it's worth your vote, please do that, because enough votes could help me win a spot to screen it in person in England this spring. The link to the checkout page for your tickets is in the show notes and it's on my link tree. It's just a direct link to a checkout page because it would have been too confusing to send you to the main link for the festival, because then you would have to go look for my category and blah, blah, blah. So it's just a checkout page. You pay $12 and then you'll get your ticket and voting code in an email. If you watch it, please let me know. I want to know what you think about it. So important to me. Okay, so this season on the podcast, I'm interviewing cast members from the film so that we can dive deeper into the stories that they have about what it's like to try and have a normal dating life while living with the stigma that comes with being a sex worker. I want to give you a heads up that today's conversation includes discussions of abuses of power by law enforcement. But if you're able to hang on and sit through this episode, if it wouldn't be too personally triggering for you, and you don't necessarily have a lot of sex workers in your life, or you don't necessarily find yourself thinking on a regular basis about sex workers being in constant risk of coming in contact with the police through so many different avenues. And one of those avenues, unfortunately, can often be your own partner. If you go back and you listen to episode 1 of this season, or if you watch the film, you'll hear Liz Afton, who is a therapist, sharing that that is a common tool that abusive partners of sex workers often deploy. The threat of police, or deliberately putting sex workers in a position where they would come in contact with police. And I think it's just really important as a society to continue to try and understand the ways that the people we love could be at risk for state violence, because without the perspective of, and here I am like a cis white woman talking about this, I'm by no means the most vulnerable, but I myself have had the experience of partners either not being aware of the ways that I am at risk as a sex worker specifically, but also partners willing to knowingly put me at risk. And there's just so many ways that that can go down. And my guest today, their story illustrates one dynamic that it's in the realm of the type of things that we have to be on the lookout for. That's some background on why we're talking about what we're talking about today. So let's get into this episode. Today, we're joined by Celeste, a New York City-based worker. They're here to talk about love, moms, and the time they dated a cop. Hi, Celeste.
Hi.
How are you this fine Monday afternoon?
I'm doing pretty well. I had my tryst approved finally, and I'm also going to be reading the rest of my book that I didn't finish quite yet.
A perfect day. And getting your tryst approved, congratulations. For those who know, you know what that means. So great. What are you reading?
Oh, Hot Singles in Your Area. It's a horror book, but like cosmic horror.
I'm intrigued because I wouldn't have thought from the title that it's a horror book. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Do you read a lot of horror?
Ooh, I read a lot of poetry, memoirs, graphic novels, but right now, the horror that I've been reading, mostly cosmic horror with a little bit like tinges of comedy. Chuck Tingle, Bury Your Gaze. This one by Jordan Shively, Hot Singles in Your Area. And Beautiful Darkness, but I forget who the author is, and it's a graphic novel about like these tiny little like oh, I don't remember what the hell they're called, but they're tiny and they're cute, but they're living inside a decomposing girl in the forest.
Oh
And
my
things
God.
and things ensue, and I can't give it away. It's great.
I need all of these recommendations. I love mysteries, I love thrillers, I love fiction, and I love anything that combines those things. And listeners, too, if you have recommendations, let me know. Okay, cool. So let's get into the dirt. So in the film, you share a pretty harrowing story. I'm going to play that clip for the listeners and we'll go from there. We're jumping right into the deep end today. So here we go.
Thinking about some other relationship that I had. All I know is that he's a cop now, and I don't like that either. But I was starting to do like, see clients, and I was starting to sell like, panties and socks and things like that. I was in college. And he was just like, well, since I'm going to be a cop, well, I would have like no choice to like report you. And I'm like, let me get the fuck out of here.
How old are you when all that happened?
24 or 25. I was just out of college.
And how did it make you feel when that was his reaction?
Ooh, at the time, because of Delulu, I was still very into him. And I'm sure there's going to be people who know how that feels. I wasn't scared at the time. I was just more so sad, so distraught with how he like said it and how matter of fact that he said it too. Um, because the way that he posed that and it felt like a threat to me at the very least, I was like, wow, first off, before any of this, we were like the best of friends. And there were no clear signs that he was going to turn and be like that at all, or go into police work or law enforcement work. So that fucked me up as is. But second of all, me being black and also the child of an immigrant and him being white, I was like, oh, interesting that you're turning around and doing that, considering you know exactly the things that I have to go through on a regular basis. And at some point, he has also had to defend me, against certain people in the past. So it threw me through a loop. I was sad as shit. I was distraught. But I was like, I need to just move forward and do what I got to do.
I'm so glad you left him behind. That's all fucking terrible. So so you were just getting into sex work and he was just considering becoming a cop or had just taken the exam or so this was like new for both of you?
He kind of seemed aimless of what he was going to be going to do and going to school for. But I I had no idea he was going to go into being a precinct officer. Like that's crazy. Like of all the things that we do, precinct officer
So it was kind of like hit you by surprise. It kind of
very
hit you
hit
by
me by
surprise.
surprise. But the few times that I visited him, his grandfather was in the room watching Fox News. I should have known. I should have.
But it's also like how like you can't know what somebody's like based on what their a lot of people got bitten by the Fox News bug at some
No,
point.
he was being raised primarily by his grandfather.
Uh-huh.
And the way that he was moving, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always, hindsight is so clear. We can look back and see signs, but I'm just glad that you're safe and that you're okay and that you're willing to tell this story because it's so important for people to hear that kind of dynamic can exist. Don't date cops, folks. You heard it from us. So, this isn't in the documentary, but during filming, you shared with the cast that you grew up in a pretty religious home. Can you talk about that and about how your mom's views square with your sex work?
So I grew up with my dad and my mom. My dad was Muslim, but then converted to Christianity for my mom, for the marriage and everything. But he was much more, relaxed about certain things. Of course, in hindsight, I'm not too sure how he would have reacted to me now or me being queer as well. Just because, he had passed when I was younger, when I was like going into high school. So
Oh, you had only
you know,
mentioned your mom during filming, so that's why I
no
thought
real. No real. It's
you had
totally
only grown up with your
understandable.
mom. So, but I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that you had lost your dad young.
You're so fine. You're so fine. But I was just saying, like, I don't know how he would have dealt with it, but I feel like he still would have accepted me, for example. I don't know how much, but I feel like he would have. My mom, on the other hand, was born and raised in Barbados, very Christian, I think like fundamentalist, maybe. And she did take those teachings and that religion back over to here. She was accepted very easily into like the Baptist church that she's in now and was in when I was younger. And even though there wasn't a lot of fear mongering or, to be fair, like not a lot of like hatred from what I saw when I was very young, once I started getting older and when my dad passed and she was, getting more and more into the church for support and for closure and for community because of my dad's passing, it started getting really, really wild, like a little bit too much. Like sending money to televangelists like Joel Osteen, and that's a whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the religious parts of that, like not being prideful, would pop up. But things like me just putting on a skirt that I liked, whether it be mini skirt or something revealing, quote unquote, it would be seen as like being sinful. So when it ties into the sex work part, oh, she doesn't even know about that.
She
If she
doesn't
knew
know.
about that,
Okay.
nah, if she knew about that, I think she would actually lose her mind and like just drop me as a child. I would not be surprised.
Are you an only child?
I'm an only child on my mom's side. My dad
Mm.
had like five, six different children, so I have hella older sisters and like one older brother.
Are you close with your mom? No.
Mm, it depends. As in like no contact, asterisk. Let me check if she's aight. Like maybe three times out of the year because I don't know if it's going to turn anything positive. I've realized due to my childhood and being with her, and this is going to be a very, very touchy subject, but for the people who know, they know, I don't view my mom as my mom. I view her as another person that I'll give grace to and be like, "Oh, you've been through a lot of shit, just like me." But I don't really connect with her like that. I just hope that she'll be okay as a person.
I actually really relate to everything that you're saying. I'm not like, oh, I hold this against my mom. Like, she should be there for me, whatever. It's just like, she can't for
Right.
whatever reasons. She like can't do it. And yeah, I have a lot of empathy for my mom too. She's been through a lot. So, it's like, yeah, it's this weird thing of like, I can't reach her emotionally, but I also hope that she's okay.
In my mind, I've kind of come to the terms of she's not the worst person, but damn, I wish that she would be a little bit better, like towards me, just a little bit. But
Yeah.
if not, it's okay.
Yeah. Builds character. Put some air on your chest. Well, does your mom know you're queer?
So I came out to my mom. I was maybe 16, and she was like, "Oh, okay." But then she got like annoyed anytime that I would bring up having a girlfriend or thinking about having a girlfriend. But then I then had more friends that were queer, and she was like, "Oh, I love them." So she knows, but like, does she accept it? That's the question. Loves my best friend down, calls him her favorite son. She has no sons. Well,
Mm-hmm.
except for me because I'm trans masculine.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell her that. She might lose her
Okay.
mind.
Got it. The parents that are like that, it's just like they're so overwhelmed by the queerness of it all. It seems like an internal fight, especially if she's so Christian too.
To be absolutely honest, she specifically uses the King James version, and that version is heavily homophobic. I'm like, you were born and raised off of this translation. That makes sense in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make it better, but it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, you're very understanding.
I can't do anything else. Like, what else am I gonna do?
Yeah, totally. I think too, that's one of these double-edged swords. When you're raised by a parent that requires you to develop an extremely high level of emotional intelligence and empathy and being super understanding, super patient, super like, okay, I see why you do the things you do. I see why you think the way you do. I feel like for so many of us who have had that experience, it also then can translate into like fucked up romantic experiences where we become too understanding, we become too patient. Oh, my cat has entered the chat.
Wild.
Hello, pod mascot. It's also great as a sex worker to be so patient and understanding because I feel like that is part of what builds such a professional boundary between us and our clients is that we can like hold our clients' experiences. We can be super attentive, tuned into them, but we are curating an experience that is for them. It is about them. So it can make us really good at our jobs and the kind of worker that a client wants to see over and over again. It's good for client retention because we can be so laser focused on that person's needs. Having a parent who's not so emotionally adult can really lead you down some interesting paths later.
You're not wrong. And also, I find that being demisexual helps so goddamn much. Like being not attracted to people straight up immediately as I see them has helped me weed out the clients that I very clearly know I'm not going to have a connection with or dynamic with, you know?
Yeah, I feel like in general, I wish there was more visibility for people who are demisexual or asexual or on that part of the sexuality spectrum. I wish there was more visibility in general, but
Mhm.
especially among sex workers. So, actually, another conversation that we had that didn't make it into the film, but I want listeners to hear this from you, is that you talked about all the ways that your current partner takes care of you. And I thought it was so sweet. So, can you talk about that?
Yeah. So my partner's pronouns are they, them, it, he, she, all of those things. And they are an absolute sweetie. When it comes to taking care of me, they'll be there while I'm just working all day. And it'll be like, I get that you want to secure the bag, but like you need to take a moment. Like, do you need a hug? Do you need to go outside, take a walk? Do you want to get on Rivals? Because we love playing video games together. And checking in with me, I am emotionally in tune with myself, but I know how quickly I can get really wrapped up in being nervous about the future or being nervous about the current, just the present day, looking around at the politics and the scheme of everything right now and wanting to secure a bag for a just in case fund. Like, yeah, like I
Yeah.
can't, if I'm not slowing down, I will sit down and cry and like break down and be like, I don't want to do anything right now for like the next 3 days. And with this type of work, highly not feasible unless you are a very high earner. That just doesn't make any sense. And being a Black person who is very obviously, like physically, you can see that I am Black. There's days where I feel like I really just can't slow down completely. So I'm very glad that my partner, who also is Black, sees me for who I am, especially during especially during Black History Month. I'm not doing, for example, any posts on my Fansly because I was like, yeah, no. All these people, specifically white guys, and yes, clients, I'm grilling you right now on this podcast. If you look up to, worship, serve, submit to any Black people who are within the sex worker sphere, in February, you go completely silent. But any other time of the year, you were saying that you wanted to send us reparations and, support us and devote to us and blah, 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 blah. I don't believe you. And in March, if you're acting a fool and you start doing that again, I don't see anything in my Cash App, blocked.
This is a great time for you to drop your Cash App. What is it?
Succubus Celeste 888.
That'll be in the episode notes. So, okay, we love to hear your partner taking care of you, understanding you on multiple different levels. I don't think the average civilian understands how much admin work it takes to be
Mm-hmm.
a sex worker who does any type of online work, online promotion, but especially if you're making content. It's a computer job. That's
Mm-hmm.
the majority of the work. And it's so much fucking computer work. I don't know if you're a neurodivergent baby, but
Yeah, I
you
am.
know, being queer, being a sex worker, those are comorbid with being
Mm-hmm.
neurodivergent.
Mm-hmm.
But just like truly having somebody around who can recognize your needs when you're not recognizing them is so huge. Has sex work ever, I'm guessing not, but I'm just curious if sex work's ever been like an issue in this relationship.
It hasn't been an issue, but at the very beginnings of when I started bringing up, oh, I might have to go into sex work again, it wasn't upset with me in any capacity about doing it. It was more concerned about my safety of like, we're in New York City. Realistically, if I go out there and I don't have the money for fare, transportation, or to have any type of safety equipment on me, like an hour train ride away or longer, that could lead to some complications. So it wasn't so much an issue. It was more of like a, okay, we need to sit down then and start planning out like let's have some type of group chat and some type of way to communicate to multiple people, but always making sure to share where my location was going to be, how long the session was going to be, presumably. And if there's any updates, I let them know in real time.
I'm really glad that your partner is proactively invested in your safety. Every partner of a sex worker should be in a truly supportive relationship. Your partner will be. And then there's this gray area that I just want to flag for folks who are not with truly supportive partners. And it does not sound like that's happening with you at all. I'm just wanting to like offer the
Oh, no,
juxtaposition
yeah.
for people. A partner may use concern about your safety as an excuse to try and get you to stop doing sex work or an excuse to guilt you for it. They may, this has happened to me and I've seen it happen to many other workers, like my friends, people I've interviewed, is using safety as a fallback for not actually saying the thing that they mean, which is, I can't handle the fact that you do sex work and I want you to stop.
You're right. You're totally right.
I'm very happy to hear that your partner's so tuned in because all sex workers need that and we deserve that. Wherever you are, if you even know one other worker or if you have any friends who care about your safety, starting an encrypted chat with those people to just check in. It's so important for people to know where you
Mhm.
are.
I would also highly recommend going into the sex worker subreddit as well. They've been very, very helpful in the things that I've found, whether that be signing up for Trist or learning about other apps and websites. Reporting apps as well have definitely helped me through the time that I've been doing this.
Like reporting bad clients, you mean?
Yes. And also from what I've seen from the subreddit, from my personal view, the people that I've seen and interacted with, they have been very, don't let that man talk to you crazy or don't let that man coerce you.
You mean like
You need to
as in
be
terms of partners?
partner, but also client.
Oh yeah,
They'll
yeah,
have
yeah. Like
like,
don't let your
yeah,
client treat you like shit. Yeah,
like there's so many baby workers that are on there that like, if you want to go out there and
totally.
like learn a little bit more, like go and talk with someone. They're gonna tell you straight up. They're not gonna be cutesy about it. They're gonna be very blunt of like, don't let that person try to play you out of like $200. If that's your price,
Mm-hmm.
that's your rate. Like, don't do
Yep.
that.
Because
Yeah.
shitty clients are gonna prey on new workers because you
Mm-hmm.
don't know what you're doing yet, and it's
Mm-hmm.
it's not your fault. We've all got fucked over by clients.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks. It happens, but definitely just talking to other workers as much as you
Mm-hmm.
can will really help.
Yes, speak to your fellow workers, whether it be on an online platform or in person. Survival workers, especially, you need to have that crisis intervention, and you need to have that network. Please be careful out there. Love you.
Yes. Love you. Sometimes we say terms on the show that people might not be familiar with, but survival workers are people who are doing sex work as a means of survival. And so obviously choices for those folks are more limited than they are for people who are doing sex work with more access to resource, to wealthier clients, to safety screening. A lot of escorts will get a client's information ahead of time and absolutely get this if you can, workers.
Mm-hmm.
Get their information. A client should be willing to be screened. But some of my trans friends have said that clients are less willing to do that because if they're caught with a sex worker, that's one thing. But if they're caught with a trans sex worker, because of the transphobia and misogyny in our society, they're not willing to give their information. And that's not the worker's fault. I'm so glad we touched on this. Switching back to you personally, Celeste, I know that you don't just do sex work. You're an artist, you're a performer. So tell us about what else you're doing these days.
So I do digital art. I'm a burlesque dancer, a go-go dancer. I do fucking drag. I do a lot for a person who's tired like all the time. You know? I love to wallow on a stage. I have a little ass to shake. I have a little money to make. Come out.
We will include all of your links in the episode description. And are we including links to your sexy content as well?
The link tree has all of my sexy content, things like that.
Oh, okay. We'll link your Instagram and your link tree.
Bet.
Succubus Celeste, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Delilah.
If you like the show, please leave a rating and review. That really helps me so much. Also, share this podcast with a friend. If you want to support my work, you can become a free or paid Substack subscriber. I really love hearing from you, so if you want to get in touch, email me at info@outlawmediacompany.com. Thank you so much for listening. I'll meet you back here next time for more sex work and love.
I'm all about my Friday night,